At age 44, Leslie Vaughn was a successful criminal defense attorney in San Antonio, Texas. He was married to a nurse and they had two sons, 16-year-old Brian and 12-year-old Chris. One night in November of 1998, Leslie's wife left for work at the hospital and Leslie went to bed. The only other two people in the home at the time were their sons, Brian and Chris. At 1:44 a.m., Brian, Leslie's oldest son, called 911 indicating he had heard what sounded like a gunshot coming from his parents' bedroom.
This is 911. What is your emergency?
I think my dad's been shot.
What do you mean? What happened?
Around 1:30 or so, a shot went out, upstairs in his room, right? And the door's locked,
Have you heard from him?
A shot rang out in the room. I cannot get in the bedroom. The door's locked.
Brian told the 911 operator that he took his younger brother Chris to his neighbor's house. Brian indicated that he could not enter the locked bedroom, so when the police arrived, they had to break down the door. There they found Leslie's lifeless body in his bed. It appeared he had been sleeping and was killed by a single gunshot to the back of the head. The spent shell casing was on the floor by the bed, and the spent bullet was under the victim's head. They also found the glass of the French doors leading out to a balcony broken. It looked as though the assailant had entered the second-story bedroom from the balcony. There was also a large stone found on the bedroom floor that looked like it had been used to break the glass door so the assailant could enter the bedroom. The room did not look ransacked. Drawers were still in place, and everything looked in order aside from the large rock and shards of glass on the floor. So burglary did not appear to be the motive. So who killed Leslie Vaughn? Many immediately suspected it was one of Leslie's former clients behind the murder. His clients were described by many as colorful characters involved in organized crime and drug offenses. It was very plausible a hit was put out on Leslie's life as payback. A few weeks before the murder, the Vaughn family received peculiar phone calls by someone who wouldn't speak when they answered. Perhaps one or some of these individuals had a grudge against Leslie for not obtaining a favorable result in their case. Others questioned whether Leslie's wife was involved. Police indicated that when they told her about his death, she didn't ask how it happened, which suggested she possibly already knew. But her alibi was quickly confirmed since she was working at the hospital. Police wanted to look into Leslie's older son Brian, who had called 911 and heard the gunshot. They checked Brian's hands for gunshot residue and found none. Upon closer investigation, detectives found some oddities at the crime scene. There were no foreign fingerprints found in the bedroom. Also, the balcony was 15 feet off the ground and there was no way to access the bedroom unless someone had scaled the wall, which would have been extremely difficult, or a ladder was used. But there was no evidence of footprints or any disturbance on the ground under the balcony. The limestone found in the bedroom was also too heavy and large to have been hurled from the ground level, and carrying it up while somehow getting up to the balcony would have been extremely unlikely. There were pieces of glass on the bed and on the body. How did Leslie not wake up if his killer had broken the glass with a stone? There were no drugs or alcohol found in Leslie's system, so he surely would have been startled by the crash. There was also glass leading up to the hallway bathroom outside the bedroom. There was also blood and tissue on the wall right outside the bedroom. How could this be if the door of Leslie's bedroom was locked? Leslie's 9mm gun was also missing from the home, which could very well have been the murder weapon. Was Leslie's own firearm used to kill him? If so, who knew where it was located in the house? Investigators decided to take a closer look at the Vaughn's oldest son, Brian. It turns out he had been arrested for getting into an altercation with an off-duty sheriff's deputy. His fingerprints were also the only ones found on the French doors leading into his parents' bedroom. 3 months before the murder, Brian's car caught fire, and the cause was never determined. It was suspected that he set it himself in hopes of his father buying him a new one. Leslie offered to buy Brian a used car instead, which infuriated Brian and caused a great amount of friction between them. Chris told detectives Brian and their father kept fighting about the car, even up to the night of the murder. When asked if Brian could or would kill their dad, Chris's response was, "I don't know." There were other things that troubled detectives about Brian and his behavior that night. Neighbors advised Brian brought Chris at 1:24 a.m., at which time he told them he already called 911 and then went back to his house to wait for the police. However, records proved that he didn't call 911 until 1:44 a.m. These 20 minutes were unaccounted for. Also, Brian said the bedroom was locked, which is what the police found when they arrived, but also said his father had bleeding all around the mouth area. How could he know this?
I think my dad's been shot. I'm calling him. No answer. He's on bleeding around his mouth area.
Okay, did you go inside the bedroom?
I can't. The door's locked.
Okay, so how do you know he's bleeding from the mouth area?
A shot rang out in the room.
Okay, you're telling me you can't get into the bedroom, right?
I cannot get in the bedroom. The door's locked.
So how do you know he's bleeding from the mouth?
I don't know that.
It was pretty clear, based on the crime scene and numerous inconsistencies in Brian's story, that he was behind his father's murder. Prosecutors believe Brian killed his father during the 20 minutes between when he brought Chris to their neighbor's home and when he called 911. He staged the scene to look like a home invasion, but made several glaring errors. They believe Brian was resentful towards his father for not wanting to buy him a new car, and with his father dead, he would be more likely to get what he wanted without Leslie standing in his way. And with a slain father, he would get an inheritance and accompanying sympathy. In January 2000, Brian was tried and found guilty. He was sentenced to 33 years in prison and became eligible for parole in 2017. A search on the Texas Department Criminal Justice website in 2021 yields no results on Brian Vaughn, which means he's no longer incarcerated. This is a tragic story of a 16-year-old son who thought he could get away with murdering his own father, but some say he got off easy. Others argue he should not have been tried as an adult, and that Leslie would have wanted leniency for his son.